All right, so these are actually the same two triangles that were used on the Circumcenter construction, but we're going to switch over and do the Incenter and the inscribed circle for these triangles here on this last page. So again, you can pick any two angles and we're going to bisect them. So I'm just going to start with this angle down here. You want to make an arc that touches both sides of the angle. You can make it anywhere you want. I'm going to go ahead and use the 40 here. Alright, now you don't need to remember what you did, but you do need the two places that arc intersected the angle there. And then this is really similar to the construction of a perpendicular bisector. What we're going to do is kind of think of these as like end points of the segment here. So put your Comtractor on either one of those endpoints, and then instead of coming halfway across this segment, we want to come at least halfway across the arc. Now, I'm going to just I used 40 here. So when I switch over to the other intersection with that arc we drew, I'm going to use that same number, which is 40. And you don't have to come all the way around like you do with the perpendicular bisector. I'm just looking for the intersection of those arcs. And what we're going to do is connect that back to the vertex of the angle. And that will be my angle bisector right there. Now we need to repeat this process for one of the other angles in the triangle, either this one or this one. We only have to do one. I'm going to go ahead and do this angle here. So again, you have to make an arc and it needs to touch both sides of the angle. I'm going to try here, I'm going to use 30, and you can use any number you want as long as it crosses both sides of the angle you're trying to bisect. And then I'm using these two intersections. I'm going to put my gold piece on one of those and come at least halfway across. So I'm just going to kind of come out here into the triangle a little bit. I'm going to use this 40. Switch over to that other intersection. Kind of inside here, inside the angle, this is 40 again. And those two arcs, we're going to connect their intersection with the vertex of the angle. And that will be the angle bisector. Alright, now what we're looking for is the intersection of those two angle bisectors right here. That's going to be your incenter. Okay, now this one can look a little messy compared to some of the other constructions for when we need to find the inside circle here. So what we need is we need the perpendicular distance between that incenter and any one of the sides here. I'm going to use this side across the bottom, so I need the perpendicular distance. So what I'm going to do to create that is I'm going to create a perpendicular bisector here. Okay, so I'm going to put my Comtractor right on the incenter. Whoops, sorry, let me get in the frame here. Put my Comtractor with the gold piece on the incenter. Now, I'm going to kind of pick a number here. I'm going to pick 31. And I just need to make an arc so it intersects either side of that segment on either side of that. Okay, so I kind of tried to make that arc a little bit darker. Now, my goal is I need to be perpendicular to that line through this point. If that's the case, then what we'll create is the perpendicular distance, which is the distance between the incenter and the side. So this is going to look a little messy. I'm really sorry about that. But these are the 2 points that are equidistant from that incenter. So I'm going to come at least halfway across. Let's see. I don't want to run into this other arc that I have here. So let me use, I'm going to use like a 26 here. And I'll kind of try to make this a little darker. Now switch over to that other end point. And I used 26, so I'm going to use that again. And we're going to connect those two intersections. Okay, so this is the perpendicular distance. Now, what I'm looking for here, and this is a jumbled mess, I understand that, the perpendicular distance from this in-center to this point should be the radius of the inside circle here. So what we want to do then, we're going to put the gold piece on the in-center, and you want to try to line that hole up with the point we just did with the perpendicular. I am going to go ahead and use 24. I think it's going to go just I could be 23 or 24 here. I think the 24 may have been the wrong choice, but I'm going to draw that circle. Alright, and I should have probably chosen the 23 because it went a little bit outside here. But this is a really good representation. This should be the perpendicular distance here, should be the radius of that circle. If we have done this perfectly, it would fit exactly inside the circle. Alright, so I'm just going to create another in-center on this diagram here. So I need to bisect an angle, so I'm going to put the gold piece in the vertex. And all we need is to cross with an arc either side of that angle. I used 40, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to take the intersection here, and I'm going to come at least halfway across. I'm just going to go ahead and use the 28 here. Switch over to that other intersection, and I'm going to use the 28 again. What I'm interested in is where those two arcs intersect, and we're going to connect that intersection point back to the vertex of this triangle here, and that should be my angle bisector. Now I'm just going to repeat that process for one of the other angles. I'm going to go ahead and do this angle here. I'm going to go with 25. Doesn't matter, just need to cross both sides of the angle. And then I'm going to put the gold piece on one of those intersections, and I'll go ahead and mark about 27 here. Now this one you do need to remember. Switch to the other intersection. About 27 is what we used. The intersection of those two, I'm going to connect with the vertex of the angle. Alright, and then we're looking for the intersection of those two angle bisectors, which is going to be right there. That's our in-center. And then again, we need to create that perpendicular distance between the in-center and one of the sides of the triangle. So I'm going to go ahead and focus on this side. What you first want to do, put the gold piece on the in-center, and then you're going to make an arc as long as it crosses on either side of that segment. Use the 23 right here. Here's an intersection, here's an intersection. And we're going to be perpendicular to this line through the in-center. So I'm going to come at least halfway across. I'm going to use these little inside guys here. I'm going to use, I'll use the 13. Then I'm going to switch over to that other end point, use the 13 again. And then we're going to connect those two intersections, and if we've done this correctly, should go through our in-center. And I'm just going to kind of highlight this. This should be, that perpendicular distance should be the radius of this inside circle. So to complete the circle, we're going to put the gold piece on the in-center, and then the best you can line up the hole there with the intersection. I'm going to have to use the 22 here. It's going to be a little bit too big, but the inside one's going to be a little bit too small. Just go all the way around there. And you guys can see my circle is just a little bit big. I would have used probably the 20, but we don't have that hole in the Comtractor. So there is another example of your in-center.